Sound, Mind, and Body is supported by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/inbound.
If you do find yourself going through a difficult time right now, just know that you're not alone. And that may actually be a really good sign, because it may mean that you came here with a calling to make the world a better place. You may have came here as a light worker, and the reason you're being challenged is because you're being challenged to grow. And we all have to go through it. You are not alone, and I know how brutal it is. I know. It's tough. I've been there, and I may be there again. You know, I hope not, but I recognize that it's just part of it. And I think part of it is just accepting that it's not necessarily meant to be easy. But I think we signed up for this when we came in.
True.
So, hey, buck up. Get through it. Get through it. You've got to do it, because the world really needs you.
The world needs you.
The world needs you.
Yeah.
We're all casting our vote right now for whether or not we're going to evolve as a species to something more loving and compassionate and cooperative, or whether or not we're going to destroy ourselves and our habitat.
Hello, and welcome to Sound, Mind, and Body, a podcast where we interview inspiring people about the many different ways to stay healthy, balanced, and well of mind, body, and spirit in today's crazy world with a dash of woo-woo. I'm your host, Sheila Melody, and today is part one of 2 episodes where I touch base with some of our former guests at the MindBody BOLD conference in San Diego, which I attended a few weeks ago. If you don't know, MindBody is one of my favorite conscious companies in the world. I use their software to manage my strength training studio, and I've attended their university as well as some of their local Los Angeles events. But their biggest event is the BOLD conference, where they bring together thousands of wellness and beauty companies from around the world to learn, play, and inspire. My lead trainer, Ann Kirkland, and I have gone for the past 3 years to BOLD, and each year it gets better. We always meet amazing people, have a great time, and come back inspired to continue to do our part for the wellness revolution. Each year, they have amazing speakers as well. The first year was Deepak Chopra. Last year, Ariana Huffington and Magic Johnson. And this year, Michelle Obama. So I had a chance to catch up with several of my past guests at BOLD, and one of them was MindBody's co-founder and evangelist, Blake Beltram. Blake was the one to kick off the conference this year and gave an incredibly heartfelt, emotional, and inspiring talk. I had a chance to sit down with him and have a one-on-one later that day.
Hi, how are you? It's so good to see you here.
It is so good to be here, and I just have to say, I'm just, again, enthralled. I'm enthralled with MindBody. I love this company. I love what you've created. And we come here each year to be inspired and to be around all these wonderful people doing all these great things.
You know what? We come here to be inspired too. This is a day that we work for. I say we. The truth is there's a team in marketing that works for this all year long, but we all look forward to it all year long. And we get inspired here. There's an electricity and an energy here that is palpable. It is just phenomenal. And it's about our customers. It's really what it's about. Our customers are the most amazing people on the planet. And when you get a bunch of them in a room together, it's like they're like family that haven't necessarily met one another, but there's this feeling of connection between them and electricity that's just, it's really, really special. And everybody here feels it. Everyone here feels it. You can't be here and not feel the electricity and the positive vibes. And so I'm glad you come here to get inspired. We come here to get inspired too. It's reciprocal. And I think it's where we connect too, because as I said from stage today, we're the plumbing, but you're the water that flows through those pipes, is what I said to our customers. And we provide the wiring, but you're the electricity and the energy that flows through those wires. So at BOLD is where sort of the infrastructure creators and the energy that flows through that infrastructure get to come together and experience each other as human beings. It's really special.
I absolutely love it, and it's doing a great service, for humanity, I think, because we're all like wellness and beauty and fitness and, health businesses. So let's talk a little bit about today, because today was such a very special day for all of us, because you guys had Michelle Obama as the keynote speaker this morning, and you introduced her. Well, you didn't introduce her. Actually, your daughter introduced her, your 12-year-old daughter. But let's just tell me a little bit about how, you prepared for this day.
Yeah. Well, yes. I mean, without question, probably the biggest day of my professional life, for sure, and one of the biggest days of my life. This is pretty hard to top, especially given the fact that my 12-year-old daughter got to come on stage with me and introduce Michelle Obama. Wow, it was a little bit of a surreal experience, to be honest with you, and this all sort of evolved over the past few months. So it wasn't really until I think about 2 weeks ago that I actually knew that I would be opening for her. And so this is all really evolved within just the last couple of weeks, because logistics are changing and things were changing around. And so originally the plan was for Rick to come out and give a whole keynote address. And then when we found out the only time he would have to connect with Michelle would be right before going on stage, he said, Blake, I need you to open Bold, because I want to spend that time with Michelle. To connect with her. And he also, frankly, didn't want to have to come out and open Bold, which is a job in and of itself, and sit down and interview the former First Lady, which is both of which are huge jobs in and of themselves. So it all happened just in the last couple of weeks. And the part of having my daughter on there also evolved, and just up until the last couple of days. And the evolution there was, I literally called her as I was working on the introduction for Michelle Obama, because my daughter is a huge, huge admirer of Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama is her number one influential person in the world. When I just told my daughter that Michelle Obama was coming to Bold, and just that, she screamed and yelled and rolled on the floor for about 20 to 30 minutes straight.
Oh my God. Yeah. I did the same thing.
I think I did too.
I pretty much did.
I think I did too. And then when she when she found out she was going to get to take a picture with Michelle Obama, oh my God, she freaked out again for another 15 or 20 minutes. And then I called her just a week or two ago and said, what is it about Michelle Obama that inspires you so much? And then she just rattled off this amazing stuff from the top of her head, and I took notes on it and wrote it all down, incorporated that into my intro.
Right.
And one of our marketing team members, Jenny Saxon, who you just met, I read it for her. She said, Blake, it's perfect, but what would make it even more perfect would be if Kennedy read that herself.
Oh my God. So when you told her she was going to...
So then I said, Kennedy, would you come up on stage and read this quote yourself? Then she freaked out again, because now she gets to come and read. And then Michelle Obama read it. And so when I got here on Sunday night, just a few nights ago, the marketing leaders pulled me over and they said, Blake, Michelle loves your daughter Kennedy's intro so much that they would actually like her to introduce Michelle.
Oh my God.
Instead of you. How do you feel about, of course it brought tears to my eyes. Yes. Who would I rather hand the microphone to than my 12-year-old daughter, Kennedy? And so then when I told her that, I mean, now she's really freaking, and then she's freaking out again. And then she found out that she got to go backstage and meet Michelle Obama beforehand. Wow. I mean, this just kept escalating and escalating. But I have to say, the moment that everyone is telling me that really took their breath away was at the end, after Kennedy read her quote, and I held the microphone for her as she read her quote about Michelle Obama. And then I handed Kennedy the microphone and walked off stage. When Michelle's team was here the day before working it out, they said, Blake, do you want to stay on stage with your daughter and greet Mrs. Obama? I said, no, I want to hand my daughter the...
You are the best dad in the world.
I get choked up.
I know, it makes me cry too. Oh my God. It does. It makes me tear up.
Well, it wasn't just that it was my daughter. I knew there was an opportunity for a moment. This is the symbolism.
Right.
This is about girl power.
Yes.
It's about the divine feminine. It's about, and I'm a feminist. I'm a believer. And my daughter is such a powerful young woman. And I said, no, I don't need to be here. I'm going to hand her the microphone and I'm going to get out of the way. And you could hear the audience.
Oh, yeah. We all went,
you could.
Yeah. And she was so composed. She was so composed and she was so professional. It was like hard to believe she's 12.
It's always hard for me to believe that she's 12. She talks like a 27-year-old attorney, especially when you're debating with her about something. I lose consistently, and I hate it, but I mostly love it. And she was so nervous. She barely slept last night. This morning she was, Dad, I don't know if I can do it, and I'm nervous. And then she was so composed up there. Yes. And if you notice, when I walked away, I think is when she became the most confident and the most composed. Yeah. It was like she told me afterwards, she goes, Dad, I actually really like that. She said, I looked up and I saw those 2,000 people, and I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. She found some composure in the middle of all of that. So I don't know. I think she may have just found some sort of calling.
Her calling. It makes me cry. It did. Well, I was in tears watching this. Well, even before your daughter came up, I was in tears with your speech. You're such an inspirational. You are the company Evangelist, and I can see why. But I was in tears because you were so open about your own story.
Yeah, thank you. I did. I shared with the audience that I've just gone through one of the most difficult periods of my life, you know. As I joked, some people call it a midlife crisis, but I'm only 31, so it can't be that. The truth is I'm not 31, and it probably is a midlife crisis. Dark night of the soul, I talked about. Really? And as I said, I like to refer to it as a nervous breakthrough.
I like that so much better than the other word.
Well, so much of it's how we frame these things, too. And what I've learned and what I really believe is that those of us that came into this life with a calling to make the world a better place, some of us are being challenged. And it's because we're being challenged to grow, because the world really needs us right now. And so the things that don't serve us being the best, most powerful version of ourselves are being burned out and burned down, and it's painful. It's hard.
This is happening in my life too.
I'm not surprised.
Yes.
I'm not surprised. And because I'm lucky enough to connect to so many light workers in the world, it's happening in mass right now.
Wow.
We're collectively being asked to evolve and be the most powerful versions of ourselves. I really believe that. I've experienced it firsthand.
Thank you for saying that, because that helps me to power through to keep going.
And that's why I'm open and transparent about it. Well, first of all, it was part of the result of my nervous breakthrough. Coming out of it was like, you know what? I am just going to be who I am. I'm not going to pretend to be anything that I'm not. And I know that the truth is we're all bumping around in this life trying to figure it out. Yeah. And I could stand up there and act like I've got it all figured out. And it would just be a facade. I mean, it would just be a lie. Because the truth is I've had a lot of mornings where I woke up and thought, you know, what the hell am I doing here? What's the purpose of this? Who am I? What am I doing here? And I think that's by design, because I came into this life not only to help make the world a better place, but I have a calling to be a leader in this wellness revolution, as I call it. And there's no leading from on high in this movement. You have to go through the stuff. You know, you got to go through the crap. You have to go through it, because the only way you can possibly lead is to know what it's like to go through that, and to have to make those positive choices in moments where all you want to do is pull the damn covers over your head and go back to sleep. And believe me, I've had plenty of mornings of pulling the covers back over my head.
Oh my gosh.
I've had lots of days where I pulled the covers over my head, and then I still managed to pull myself out, make some positive choices, and turn my day around. And by the afternoon, I'm going, God, what was I afraid? Why didn't I want to get out of bed this morning? Life is actually pretty cool. You know, sometimes it's a minute-to-minute struggle, an hour-to-hour struggle, but...
Thank you for saying all this, because it really does help. It helps me just sitting here. I know it helps Anne, who's sitting here with me, and I know it's going to help anybody who's listening to this?
I hope so. We need to support each other in this, and we need to drop the facades that any of us have it really figured out, Yeah. Some of us have it more figured out in other of the 7 dimensions of wellness, as we call it.
Right.
I might look at a couple of those dimensions and actually say, I'm knocking it out of the park in that dimension, but I'm not going to look in all 7 of them at any given time probably and say I'm knocking it out of the park. I've had struggles with my family. I've had struggles as a father, partly because I went through this dark night of the soul and I wasn't there. I didn't show up in the role that I really needed to for my daughter during that time, and I'm paying for that, today.
Wow.
I think I won some points back by getting her to meet Michelle Obama.
I think you won a lot of points back for that.
I hope so. But the funny thing is, as amazing as this day was, and it does win points, it's actually not what really matters the most to a kid. What really matters the most is me showing up and being there and listening, and the hard work is almost always done in private. Those little micro battles are the ones that really add up, and these big moments are phenomenal, but they're few and far between. It's the billions of little micro battles that where things are won and lost.
So tell us about, you're doing some really cool things now, that you talked about earlier. So tell us about some of those things you're doing.
Yeah, I was inspired by people like you. I'm going to start a podcast. I've started a podcast called Wellness Revolutionaries, and I've recorded the first few. We're going to launch in November. And it's about looking at the 7 dimensions of wellness and the people that are leading in each of those dimensions, and finding out what they're doing and how we can work together collectively. And I feel like part of my calling is to tell the story of this wellness revolution, to first of all just frame it to say, hey, there is a wellness revolution taking place. Here's what it looks like.
Yes.
Here's who the leaders are, and to call out the leaders because they often don't know that they're leading the wellness revolution because they're so in the trenches.
Oh.
So part of my job is to say, do you realize you're one of the leaders in this change that's taking place?
That is so cool. Wow, I cannot wait to hear Blake's podcast about the wellness revolution. But first, we're going to take a quick ad break, and when we come back, Blake will explain the 7 dimensions of wellness.
Hey, it's Tim Edwards with the Inbound Podcasting Network and producer of Sound, Mind, and Body. Just the fact that you're listening to the Sound, Mind, and Body podcast tells us that you enjoy consuming your content through your ears. Now, if you're a podcast listener, you're a perfect fit to enjoy audiobooks. So for you, our listeners and official members of Sheila's woo-woo community, Audible is offering you a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial to check out their awesome service. Give it a shot. You've got nothing to lose. It's absolutely free for 30 days, and you get a free audiobook to keep even if you don't continue with the subscription. Support Sound, Mind, and Body by visiting audibletrial.com/inbound. That's audibletrial.com/inbound. We'll include a link in the show notes, or just click the Audible banner at soundmindbodypodcast.com.
On the next episode of Sound, Mind, and Body, we'll have part 2 of my BOLD conference update, where I caught up with Corey Sterling and Sadie Nardini.
All of you who are listening who have some expertise to share something burning in your heart, something that you're not happy about in your life, and a way to freedom, to really be able to express who you are and what you are, and create, whether it's a podcast or an online course or an ebook or anything else that helps put you out there on a greater level without you having to show up all the time to do it. I want you to really consider putting that out, because the world needs us more than ever right now. A wellness, a fitness, a consciousness revolution is only going to happen if we make it happen and we get over ourselves and leap over into that scary but ultimately so rewarding and powerful place of rocking who you are out there into the world. The world needs us to do it more than ever, so let's go.
That's next week on Sound, Mind, and Body. Okay, we're back and continuing my conversation with MindBody co-founder and evangelist Blake Beltram as he explains the 7 dimensions of wellness.
in defining wellness, we decided we really need a shared definition of what wellness is. And we're multidimensional beings. And when it comes to our physical health and our wellness, and especially our happiness, then certainly that's multidimensional. So we look at the physical dimension, which is a body that works. We all know about diet and exercise and so on. But there's also the emotional dimension. Your self-talk and how you're feeling are really going to determine whether or not you make healthy choices or not. If you reach for a donut or a salad, it's going to depend more on how you're really feeling in that moment than anything else.
That is so true.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the emotional dimension's huge.
Yes.
I think in some ways that's the most important one because, perspective is 100% of reality. So if you feel happy, you're happy. If you don't feel happy, you're not happy. And
right. It's true.
so,
And you just make better choices. So you've got the emotional, the
physical, the emotional, the spiritual, finding purpose and meaning in a connection to something bigger than ourselves. Intellectual, keeping our brain stimulated. Scientists tell us if we're not using our brain, it starts to shrink and die on us. Occupational, finding work that is our calling, where we feel like we're really making a difference. And usually that means serving someone other than ourselves and maybe something bigger than ourselves. Social is huge. The number one determinant of health and happiness as we get older is the quality of our relationships. So the social dimension of the wellness is huge, everywhere from our intimate relationships all the way out to our coworkers and our community relationships. And then environmental. And environmental can be everything from your desktop at work to your home environment to the world and global environment. So the feeling is that a well-balanced human being really pays attention to all of those 7 dimensions, and it gives us an opportunity to start to isolate where things might be going haywire a little bit and giving those things attention.
That's a very good point, because like you said, you might be great in one area, but then the other areas are kind of, suffering for one reason or another. And once you start to look at it, then you can know where you need to pay attention to make yourself as good and healthy, balanced, and well of all those things.
Absolutely. And awareness is the first stage. And the 7 dimensions model just gives us a way to bring a little bit more awareness to what's going on. Because if we understand how important our relationships are and our health and happiness, and we do an honest assessment of that and say, wow, I'm not doing so great in that dimension right now, we can ask ourselves, well, how much will do I have to change that? In some cases, we might not be doing that well in a dimension, but we might choose to back burner it because there's another dimension that's more important. If what's going on with our family is the most important thing in that moment, we might have to back burner, the vocational dimension, the occupational dimension, or even the physical dimension. Maybe we have to let our hopefully we don't, but maybe sometimes we have to even let our physical health suffer a little bit if there's a fire burning in one of the other dimensions that really needs our attention.
Right, exactly. So you can get it to a better balance.
Yeah.
So talking about the emotional, you are also launching a mindfulness tour. So talk about that.
I wanted to talk more about this today on stage. I wish I'd had more time, but a friend of mine who is an artist made a 7-foot tall statue of a meditating woman. She's absolutely breathtaking in person. Her name is Shakti, and she has a presence about her that's phenomenal. This was one of those things that literally came to me in a dream. It felt like someone was standing in my dream giving me this image for several hours, and I woke up and opened my eyes and said out loud, oh, probably expletive, don't make me do that, because I thought people are going to think I'm nuts. But the image that I had was to put this 7-foot tall sculpture of a meditating woman on a flatbed trailer and tow her up and down the west coast of the United States doing a mindfulness tour. So we're going to go to customers, we're going to go to companies, we're going to go to events, and we're going to invite people to come and meditate with Shakti.
I love it. I'm there.
You're there? Yes.
Yes.
And we're going to hand out literature about meditation and mindfulness and really start to bring some awareness into that spiritual dimension, that emotional dimension.
I love this. I'm just doing a little series on my Instagram about all the chakras, just trying to, because I'm kind of learning a lot about meditation myself and going a little deeper with that. So this is wonderful.
It's so cool. It's huge.
It is huge.
In a time where we have digital distraction, we spend 4 to 6 hours a day on our mobile devices, more stress than ever. You have things like mental illness on the rise. The suicides are at an all-time high. Loneliness is an epidemic,
Oh, that's so sad.
It is. And a lot of this comes back to that internal life and to that connection to something bigger than ourselves. It's the spiritual dimension, it's the emotional dimension, and meditation and mindfulness are a huge part of that. And I want to call attention to that, and I want to be of service to that as much as possible.
I love this. So where are we going to find out about where the tour, where is Shakti going and when?
Yeah, so what I didn't say, what I wanted, I love that the crowd responded, and what I should have said is, I'm glad I got a positive response, because our CFO is sitting there going, wait, no one told me about this. How much is this going to cost? But so this is right now literally at the stage of me dreaming it. I have some tricks for manifestation, and one of them is what I call name it and frame it. And so you give it a name, like the Mindfulness Tour, and you frame it like I just did. Here's what it is. And then reality has a way of conforming around that, if it's a divinely inspired idea, especially, which this one is, because it was given to me in a dream state. And I know when I tell people that are sort of healers and light workers about it, I see them light up. I've had people say to me, oh my gosh, Blake, you have no idea. This is huge. You've really tapped into something. And again, it's about the divine feminine. This is a female figure that's meditating. This is about bringing more balance into the masculine, feminine energies on the planet. And the time is now. So
the time is now. I truly believe this, and I feel like we all need to get relief from all the stresses that we have in our lives. And like you said, we're so connected and we're on all the time. And it's like the power of meditation to me is really helping, the healing power of it, and the power of it to do all, many things that you don't have to put out this like intense effort on. You know what I mean? Like just calming down and centering and bringing in that, universal energy is so powerful.
It is. In my experience, it's from that void where most of the great things really come. And it's so powerful, and we need to demystify it a little bit. First of all, the research is in on meditation. It reduces the size, scientifically, it reduces the size of our amygdala, our fight, flight, freeze
yes,
brain.
It does. And it makes the other part of your brain bigger, right?
Right. The prefrontal cortex, your executive brain, which is where you make good decisions, gets bigger. And it reduces stress. It reduces the likelihood that you'll have a heart attack, all of these things. I mean, the research is in. But I think it would be helpful to demystify it, because some people still think it's a little bit of a woo-woo thing. Or that it's something that takes some big commitment. Like, there's people that go do this. No, you can, as Eckhart Tolle says, one conscious breath is a meditation.
Exactly. And you don't have to go to an ashram in India and sit there in silence for a month or something. You can just do it for 5 minutes, or like you did 1 minute right before our podcast last time you were on my show. We did the 1 minute of silence.
1 minute is huge. Meditating for 1 minute a day will probably change your life, and it's subtle. It's not like you start meditating and you suddenly notice a huge shift in your life, but you do start to notice this shift over time. And so we need to just demystify that and help people understand that it's more about the micro choices. Meditating and mindfulness can be a micro choice, not a macro choice. Meaning, you know what? I've got 3 minutes because I'm waiting in line anyway, or I'm frustrated right now. I'm just going to close my eyes and take a few conscious breaths, something as simple as that.
Well, I think, what you're doing, you're going to be going around and educating people, and then they get to try it. And maybe people who wouldn't have otherwise would be like, if their corporate office is doing it or something, they'll be like, okay, I'll try it.
And that's what we want to do. I'm going to contact Silicon Valley companies, and I'm going to say, hey, can we come and bring Shakti on campus, and as part of your corporate wellness program, have your corporate wellness people come down. They can hand out the stuff. I don't care. I just want to get your employees down there and give people a visceral experience of this. I also think it's going to be my intuitive feeling on this is it's going to be a strange attractor for those people that feel called to something more and they're not sure what it is.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a little bit of a Field of Dreams impact where people aren't even going to know why, but they're gonna just show up and not even know why, and they're going to connect to each other and connect to a community and maybe start down that path of personal growth and evolution.
Are you coming to LA? You should bring it to the studios.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I think that would be a great idea.
You bet. Oh, we're going to start, we're in San Luis Obispo, so we'll start north. We'll start at the Bay Area on day one, and then we'll make our way up to the coast to Seattle, and then we'll make our way back down. We'll hit Los Angeles on the way back down, and then down to San Diego. And who knows, maybe we hit Los Angeles on the way back up, too, because we're doing a loop. So we probably try to time it to where we hit LA coming and going. And same with San Francisco.
Okay.
And
Well, I'm in. Whenever you're there, I'll make the time. I'm going to show up for Chakti.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, the idea has some magic about it. People
does.
are really attracted to the idea.
Yes.
Which is great because I thought everyone would think I was nuts when I brought this up, and I've had a great reception.
I love it. I love it. What were the words? Name it and frame it.
Name it and frame it. Yeah.
I like that.
It's part of my trick of manifesting things. One of the things I'm really good at is being a fire starter.
Yeah.
And also recognizing when there's energy for something and when there is an idea that feels really inspired. And when you have something that feels inspired, most people tend to see things as they are and judge what they see. Those of us that see things through a little bit more of a visionary lens, a lot of times we see things that other people don't see.
Right.
So, and what we have to learn is not everybody sees what we see. So you have to name it and frame it. You have to tell the story first.
So that they can get an image of it. They can understand what it might be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing. It doesn't exist right now. This is a figment of my imagination right now. But when I show a picture of the sculpture and I say it's called the MindBody Mindfulness Tour, and it's on a flatbed trailer, and we've got a motorhome that's wrapped in MindBody branding, and we go along the coast of the United States, and we stop at companies and businesses, and we invite people to come and meditate, and we hand out. You can see that in your mind's eye,
totally.
right? That exists. That's a thing.
Yes.
And so we just named it, we framed it, and then reality starts to conform around that.
It's going to go all over the U.S., I bet.
We decided, Josh Todd, the chief marketing officer, and I love this about MindBody. I invited our chief marketing officer over to the art studio where Shakti sits now at 7 o'clock one morning. I had him meet me there. I gave him an address, and I sat him in front of Shakti, the sculpture, and he said, "Okay, what's this about?" And I said, "Well, Josh, here's what I want to do." And to his credit, he said, I think it's a great idea.
I love it.
And he said, "And Blake, by the way, you should be out there doing stuff like this because, as he put it, none of the rest of us have the kind of permission that you have to do these kinds of things." So,
but you also, you're the evangelist, and you're fulfilling your role. That's your role for the company.
That's my role, and I'm part of my nervous breakthrough was realizing what my role is really meant to be as well, and how can I embrace that on a deeper level and step more into my power and my calling. And so what Josh said in that meeting was, let's start on the West Coast and see how it goes.
Okay.
I have a feeling it's going to take on a life of its own, and who knows. This tour maybe somebody else will even take the tour over, and Shakti will take on a whole life of her own. I don't know, but I have a feeling it's going to go places that we aren't even imagining right now. I think it's one of those divinely inspired ideas that's not coming from me, but coming through me, and I'm going to
just like MindBody was.
Exactly like MindBody was 20 years ago.
I still do that sometimes. I still, because I'm trying to figure out, where I'm going to, and I do what you said. Show me the way, and I will follow.
Show me the way, and I will follow. That's it. I mean, that's it. It's for me now. It's a daily mantra. It's almost a minute by minute mantra. One of the challenges of this journey for a lot of us, I think, and Tyron Woodley and I were just talking about this, and he said the same thing. And this is kind of the definition of faith. When you're following your calling, my experience is sometimes you get shown the next stone across the river, and you're supposed to jump to that stone, but you don't necessarily know where the one after that is. But you jump to that one, and then you see the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And faith is knowing that that those stones are going to lead you all the way across that river. But you're just going to have to take it one step at a time.
I love this. Blake, do you have anything else you want to talk about? And tell us what you're doing? Or these are big things.
They are big things. I guess the only thing I would say is that if you do find yourself going through a difficult time right now, just know that you're not alone. And that may actually be a really good sign, because it may mean that you came here with a calling to make the world a better place. You may have came here as a light worker, and the reason you're being challenged is because you're being challenged to grow. And we all have to go through it. You are not alone, and I know how brutal it is. I know. It's tough. I've been there, and I may be there again. I hope not, but I recognize that it's just part of it. And I think part of it is just accepting that it's not necessarily meant to be easy. But I think we signed up for this when we came in.
True.
So, hey, buck up, get through it. You've got to do it, because the world really needs you.
The world needs you.
The world needs you.
Yeah.
We're all casting our vote right now for whether or not we're going to evolve as a species to something more loving and compassionate and cooperative, or whether or not we're going to destroy ourselves and our habitat. So you're casting your vote. When you're feeling down and at your worst, you're casting a vote for humanity when you make a positive choice to pull yourself out of that.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
Very inspirational. So before we go, I just would love for you to share the story that you shared with us earlier about your daughter, what she said to you. Talk about highly evolved souls.
Well, as we said, she's 12 years old. She got to not only introduce Michelle Obama today, but she also got to meet her backstage and spend a little time with her. And Mrs. Obama wrote something in Kennedy's little book that is absolutely mind-blowing, that she'll remember and have for the rest of her life. But we were talking about how lucky I am to have such an amazing 12-year-old daughter, and I shared with you that I knew what I was in for when she was 9 years old, and she was doing something her way, because that's the way she does it, which I hate, but I mostly love it because she's independent. And I said, Kennedy, I've been on the planet a lot longer than you, so I might know a few things that you could actually benefit from. And 9-year-old Kennedy, without hesitation, said, Dad, I know in this lifetime you've been on the planet longer than me, but when you add all of our lifetimes up, I've been on the planet 57 years longer than you.
I just love that. That would blow me away.
She had an exact number. That was one of those, drop the mic moments where, as a father, I just threw my hands up. Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Do it your way. I'm positive you're right. I'm just your tour guide. Do what you're going to do. Go for it, girl.
That is beautiful. Well, thank you so much for taking this time to sit with me here, Blake, and for the update. And I hopefully will see you soon with Shakti.
I hope so. And I just want to end by saying thank you for what you do, because you're clearly one of the souls that's on the planet to make things better in our world. And I see that about you, and I really honor that in you and cherish that. Thank you for the work that you do in the world. It really makes a difference.
That means so much to me, Blake. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for this episode. And wow, it is so inspiring to talk to Blake. Every time I talk to him, I learn something new and I'm re-inspired. And I cannot wait for Shakti to come to Los Angeles. Let us know if she may be coming to your town. Send us a voice memo or email to soundmindbodypodcast@gmail.com. And thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you like the podcast, we would so appreciate it if you give us a review on iTunes. It really helps new listeners find us. Thank you to our producer, Tim Edwards in the Inbound Podcasting Network. And thank you once again to our guest, Blake Beltram. Get in touch and join the conversation. We're on Instagram at Sound Mind Body Podcast, or find us on Facebook, YouTube, or the web. Search for Sound Mind Body Podcast. I'm Sheila Melody. Join us next week as we explore, enlighten, and evolve.